Welcome to E.T.'s Creepy Classics. I'm Denny Directo. Throughout our show, we will be unlocking the E.T. vault and revisiting some iconic scary movies and villains from over the years. From classic scream queens to Freddie Kruger, E.T. has it all. Scream queens are a staple of the horror film genre, and for mother and daughter duo Jamie Lee Curtis and Janet Leigh, it is also part of the family business.
I don't think I did the shower curtain business any good, except the ones that I've signed.
That infamous shower slashing scene was only 45 seconds long, but took 7 days to shoot. It scared Janet enough to stick to that.
I don't take showers, and that is the truth. I had never consciously, thought about it before, that how vulnerable you are in a shower. You can't hear because the water's going, you can't see because it's closed, and, you're obviously completely defenseless.
In 1960, when Psycho was released, Janet and her then-husband, Tony Curtis, were one of Hollywood's hottest couples. Their daughter, Jamie Lee, would follow in her mom's own horror film footsteps.
I saw that movie 50 times.
I'm very proud to be her daughter. Of course, 60 years is a long time. If you do any sort of deep dive into the history of Psycho, there were very specific limits set on how you could see it. And once you were in the theater, you could not leave because they didn't want to let the secret of the movie out. Obviously in today's world with social media, it's very hard to keep secrets in movies. And the moment a movie is seen, 1,000 people are tweeting about it.
Fulfilling a lifelong dream, mother and daughter got to share the screen in Halloween H2O.
Oh, surprise, surprise. The drains in the girls' shower room are clogged again.
How exciting is it to be working with your daughter?
It was very exciting. She's doggone good.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's doggone good. Ladies and gentlemen, do you need a better quote? Janet Leigh said she is doggone good.
Janet passed away in 2004, but told us she was proud of her lasting legacy.
I'm surprised that the movie has maintained the following that it has for so long. People that weren't even born write letters. They know it as well as I do.
The best way to startle somebody is when you take 2 blocks of triangular pieces of wood, they're called wedges, that and you smash them together. At sort of like when you're supposed to hear a gunshot, and all they're usually going to say is gunshot, and you go, when you're supposed to hear something and they go smash, you're like, I was 18 when I made Halloween. I played the girl next door, the one who went to school, the one who fought back. I think classics are classics because I think Halloween could be one. It's sort of like a poor man's version of a classic. Because it was done without any blood, it was done without, there's no blood in Halloween. People think that these movies are all slice and dice movies. There's no slicing and dicing in Halloween. You think you see a lot more than you do.
What's the boogeyman?
I mean, a lot of guys like to take me to horror films, but I don't like them. I never have. But it was only an irony that I was in them. And so in the sense of, I don't understand why people like them. I don't know why people, I guess they like to be scared.
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
I saw The Exorcist, and it was the only horror film I will ever see, ever. Forget it. I don't see them. I'm a good date for a horror film. I end up in their lap the whole time.
I think I'll go to Vancouver now.
Slash trash scream queen. I think it's great. People used to want people to like them. As an actress, your joy is when an audience identifies with you and your characters and goes out to see you. Now, if horror films have given me what people have called or described as a cult status, all that tells me is that there's a group of people who've liked the films I've made and have maybe liked me. And if they liked me then, they're going to like me again. I mean, that's all we're supposed to do, is try to get an audience to like you. So if they've done that, then I think that that's great.
There have been many frightening horror film villains, and for years they have been locked away in our E.T. vault. But now, some of them have escaped.
It's not as if she were a maniac, a raving thing. She just goes a little mad sometimes. We all go a little mad sometimes.
Norman is an unpredictable character. I think that's one of the reasons he's a popular character in a fictional horror movie character. I referred to him before, and I feel it's an accurate description. It's the Hamlet of horror roles. I really feel that way. And Norman is a well-meaning guy. He likes to stay out of trouble and be kind to people. That's essentially the way he is in life. But so often, well-meaning people run into other kinds of people who won't just kind of let them have their way and be left alone. And that's always the problem with Bates Motel.
Anthony Perkins, what a legend. Coming up, we have more creepy classics and horror film villains. The Exorcist first hit theaters in 1973, and it reportedly terrified some moviegoers so much that they fainted, and it seems it was just as chilling to make the film.
Each time we came to a different part of the demonic possession, it got harder and harder. It wasn't so bad prior to the heavy makeup, but each time the demon did something, it was difficult.
Your mother's in here with his cars. Would you like to leave a message?
What I tried to do with The Exorcist was do a story about an ordinary street in an ordinary little town with an ordinary house on the corner, and everything about it is normal, except upstairs there's a little girl who was possessed by the devil.
I'm telling you that thing upstairs isn't my daughter.
I had interviewed over 500 girls before I found Linda Blair. She was an extraordinarily gifted natural actress.
When my mother and I first read the book, I think the most important thing to remember is children don't know a lot of things about religion. So for me, I ask questions like everybody else asks. How does she jump up and down on the bed? And how do the special effects work?
The power of Christ compels you!
We built this set. The exterior was in Georgetown. The interior was on a soundstage in New York. And the set cost about $500,000 to build. And one morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, I got a phone call from the production manager who said, "You're not going to believe this, but the whole set has burned to the ground." And what had happened was sometime during the morning hours, this set mysteriously burned to the ground. They never figured out what happened. We had to rebuild the set. We had to shut the picture down for 3 months and rebuild the entire set.
I thought you were supposed to be an expert.
There are no experts.
I think that The Exorcist is an incredible film. You have, number one, an incredible novel, screenplay. Billy Friedkin, who directed the film, he had the vision. He knew what he wanted to do. The acting. Ellen Burstyn, her performance. If you did not believe her, you would never have felt any sympathy for me.
Have you ever heard of exorcism?
It became very strange, very strange. A lot of things that happened in connection with the film that were as inexplicable as the events depicted in the film. We had a priest who came on the set periodically and would exorcise the set, and things would go well for a while, for a month or so, and then there would be something extraordinarily weird happen again.
Where's Reagan?
In here with us.
When The Exorcist came out, it was a lot of people that it unnerved, and I think they felt some kind of connection to me. So out of respect, Warner Brothers was kind enough to make sure that I had constant protection. I'm appreciative that they were responsible to make sure that my safety was in order. It's just one of those things, this kind of film is going to bring out some different personalities in people, and they want to read something different into the project. It was hard, but it's okay.
It burns!
If you look at the film very carefully, there's the possibility that everyone involved is kind of a victim of mass hysteria. they're just overwrought by their inability to cope with this illness. So it's very possible, in my mind, having made The Exorcist, that it is not necessarily about demonic possession. The film, to me, is more about the mystery of faith.
It is he who commands you!
As difficult as the film was to make, it's something I'm very, very proud of.
Everything I ever loved has been taken away from me. Not you, my Marie Antoinette, for I will give you eternal life.
I think they were sort of fairy tales, really. You know, they were Gothic tales, and they were really, our job was to make the unbelievable believable. And I think it was fun to do. There was the spirit of really trying to take the audience into the story. I think today the story is so blat out that nobody's taken in at all, as the actors I'm talking about.
When we were doing them, we had good scripts and good actors and good sets, which all worked together. That's not true of what they're doing now. They don't have the good actors, they don't have the good stories, they don't have the good sets.
They all depend on effects.
You can be swamped by them, you know. Yeah. Really, it can be a Niagara of special effects and makeup effects and so on. I've got nothing against it in context, but where is the acting?
We'll be right back. They're here. Those two words have been haunting fans since 1982. And when E.T. sat down with Steven Spielberg to discuss Poltergeist, he compared it to another one of his legendary films. They're here. Steven Spielberg had a simple way to describe Poltergeist before it came out.
Just that it's real scary. It's real scary.
The Oscar-winning director gave E.T. the lowdown on the making of this horror classic.
There's some esoteria in Poltergeist, but essentially it's a movie about tightening your stomach muscles and keeping them there for 2 hours, you know, until something gives, either the movie or your stomach.
This house is clean.
Spielberg broke onto the scene by terrifying audiences with Jaws, and he couldn't help but compare Poltergeist to his very first blockbuster.
It's sort of a land Jaws for me. It's a movie about ghosts, but it's not a send-up.
Well, who did you mean? Who's here? The TV people.
Well, the great similarity is the terror is relentless, and the terror is unseen in both movies. In Jaws, you see the terror at the end, and of course in Poltergeist, you also see the terror at the end. Both films are, you know, you can watch watch Jaws and Poltergeist like this. That's a great way of watching movies. I used to watch films all the time that way when I first saw The Thing when I was a kid.
Spielberg produced and co-wrote Poltergeist, leaving directing duties to Tobe Hooper, director of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Spielberg was busy in pre-production on perhaps his most famous movie, E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
Sometimes what I think the motion picture business needs is just a shot in the arm of new concepts and new notions. It's really a movie about a haunting in suburbia.
Both E.T. and Poltergeist turned Los Angeles' San Fernando Valley into a now iconic cinema backdrop.
I love making films in Los Angeles or in Hollywood. I like working here. I like sleeping in my own bed at home and driving to work in the morning as opposed to staying at a Holiday Inn somewhere in Montana.
Something's funny going on here next door.
Both movies I've sort of been making together. I mean, I was cutting Poltergeist and then cutting E.T. only 3 weeks apart. So it's almost like making two movies at the same time. And I found that was in a way helpful because it gave me great objectivity. When I was working on Poltergeist, I had enormous clarity about E.T. And when I was suddenly involved in E.T., I had enormous clarity about Poltergeist. Fantastic. They're so different. Poltergeist is a scream and E.T. is a whisper. And yet they're very broad-based movies, meaning they reach out, I think, to all audiences.
Knocking out back-to-back movies in one year became a habit for Spielberg, even after his grueling schedule took its toll on the filmmaker.
A lot of sleepless nights. It's hard to hold a solid relationship with your personal life when you're working this hard. I've never worked harder, I don't think. Essentially, the only real problem was that you can't do everything. I keep trying to wear all the hats and realize only one or two hats fit.
And you only move the headstones! You only move the headstones! Why?
Poltergeist's terrifying scenes were all the more disturbing thanks to its Oscar-nominated visual effects.
This thing is growing out of her, and it's getting larger and larger. It goes whoosh, breaks up like blowing a smoke ring apart in the air. It has a lot of reality, and it has a lot of extraordinary special effects in it.
I've never sensed anything like it.
You know, I'm sitting here true to form talking about epic production value, when in fact, you know, it's the heart of the movie that sells the tickets. It's who the people are, it's how they relate to each other, and it's what the story is about that grabs the audience.
While Jaws made audiences afraid to go into the water, Poltergeist made people afraid of what dangers might await them in their own homes.
I think that's fun. People like to get on a downhill run and stay there until they either win or hit the wall.
What do you think? I tell you what I like doing about horror films, because they're a bit tongue-in-cheek. I think they're fun, you know, and you know, as long as you don't take them too seriously, they're fun. Yeah, and you know, my daughter's 13 going on 14, and it's nice to have something where, you know, she's not embarrassed to have me around. You know? So I'm in one area of my life, I'm cool, you know, I'm Chucky.
Coming up, we've got a villain who will haunt your dreams. A Nightmare on Elm Street has been tormenting people's dreams for decades, and it spawned one of the greatest villains of all time, Freddie Kruger.
Fred Kruger here. Look out, Eddie Murphy. Look out, Tom Cruise.
Do people call you Freddie when they meet you?
I get that a lot. I get, you know, hey, Freddie, yo, Freddie, at a stoplight. A lot of that, yeah. It's Mr. Kruger to you, punk.
I'm gonna split you in two.
7 sequels, a horror series, TV show appearances, music videos, and even a video game. Englund's career as Freddy all started in 1984.
Come to Freddy.
Freddy has a personality which makes him distinct from most of the contemporary horror films. I think the movies are really a hit, though, because they take place in a dream. And in the nightmare, you're thrown into this world, this dreamscape, and you never know when the dream is going to begin or end. You never know when you're out of the dream or not.
This is just a dream. He isn't real. He isn't real.
And check out this movie magic. E.T. was on set with Englund 37 years ago. This transformation into Freddy took 4 hours.
Every night, each piece is baked. It's never reusable. And then it's painted right next to your lean cuisine. You have little pieces of flesh.
You know, there's so many special effects in a horror film, and you kind of got to get the jokes out, because you've got tubes going up your pant leg and up your bum and out the sides, and there's blood squirting, and I'm wearing goat bladders under my latex makeup to make my head expand, and it's kind of ridiculous.
Did you ever walk anywhere as Freddy during filming, just in public?
We went to this dark Thai restaurant, and I was facing the door to the kitchen, and an old waiter came through the door, the swinging door, and he opened it up, and he had a full tray stacked with covered dishes, and he got one look at me sitting there in full Freddy drag. He lost the tray, it went clattering to the floor, and I learned real early on I've got to really be careful where I go in public in that makeup.
It was the first time we saw this A-list actor ever on the big screen.
Give me your full name and correct spelling first.
My name is Johnny Depp, D-E-P-P.
Johnny Depp was just 21 years old.
That was incredible. I never acted before, ever, in high school and nothing. So to me, it was sort of trial by fire, you know, let's see what happens. Why would anybody want to kill me?
He was the most polite guy in the world. He called me sir for the first 2 weeks. I said, Johnny, you're making me feel ancient here.
Well, what if they meet a monster in their dreams? Then what?
They turn their back on it, take away its energy, and it disappears.
Well, to be honest with you, I've been told that it seems more natural, the way I play the character. More believable, I guess. Because being as each guy before me only did it once, I've talked to some of the guys, and they didn't really enjoy playing the character as much as I do. And I think that does come through in the performance.
Coming up, we have Jodie Foster talking all about The Silence of the Lambs. The Silence of the Lambs is the first horror film to ever win Best Picture at the Oscars. And when Jodie Foster sat down with E.T., she told us all about the connection between Clarice and Hannibal Lecter.
The way he gets to Clarice is he finds out what the one thing about her, the one thing that could repulse her about herself more than anything else. And I think in some ways it was pity. That he could look at her and say, you know, I feel really sorry. And ultimately that got her much more than going, ah.
Do you know what you look like to me with your good bag and your cheap shoes? You look like a rube. A well-scrubbed, hustling rube with a little taste.
He wasn't going to penetrate her by being a monster in the literal way. He had to find out what it is about this particular woman that she didn't even know she hated about herself.
Jack Crawford sent a trainee to me.
Yes, I'm a student. I'm here to learn from you. Maybe you can decide for yourself whether or not I'm qualified enough to do that.
Well, the motivation for that certainly is ambition. There's something that she wants from him, and she knows that to remain completely distanced and only to follow the rules won't get her that thing. That there has to be a certain kind of intimacy. And you know, the reason that he allows her that kind of intimacy is that they have respect for each other. That they both cherish this idea of dignity, and that it's very much a part of both of their personalities, this need for dignity and for human respect and human contact in some ways. They become completely confused with completely intimate with each other.
Most serial killers keep some sort of trophies from their victims.
I didn't.
No, you ate yours.
She's a woman who uses her wits and her sensitivity and her perspicacity and emotions and vulnerability and a past that in some ways is historically negative. Somebody who is relentlessly 5'4". It's the head and the heart that combat the villain. And I can't think of any other more perfect feminine prototype for the woman who fights to save women. And everything else in the film supports that idea.
Well, I tell you things, you tell me things. Not about this case, though. About yourself. Quid pro quo. Yes or no? Yes or no, Clarice?
One of the through lines, and certainly the reason why I got involved in it, was not because it was scary, which it is. The relationship between Lecter and Clarice is phenomenal. It's something you've never seen before, and certainly something you've never experienced before as an audience. She travels through this sort of forest of experience where she meets gnomes and demons along the way, and has to lay claim to and admit her fears, and in some ways come to terms with the past, come to terms with fears like fear of mediocrity, fear of commonness. She meets the villain, and by virtue of combining the head and the heart, by combining what is learned and what is experienced, by combining things that you can explain and things that are about instinct, combats the villain and has a duel and wins. If anything is the perfect mythic structure of folktale, this is it.
Don't even think about anybody coming for you. Not the doctors, not your agent, not your family, because I never called them. Nobody knows you're here. And you better hope nothing happens to me. Because if I die, you die. It had been a fantasy of mine to do this role ever since I read the book a few years ago. And a friend of mine handed me the book to read in New York and said, hey, you know, when they do the movie of this, you have to play Annie Wilkes, you know. And at the time, I was like, yeah, right, you know. So it was terrific when this came along. But I didn't, you always find elements of yourself in the character and things that are not like you know, so.
I mean, Kathy Bates is an icon. All right, still ahead, we find out what it takes to survive a horror film. Being able to survive to the end of a scary movie is quite an accomplishment, and Scream star Neve Campbell has been making it out alive since 1996.
Okay, so all the rules of the scary movie.
No sex, you get killed.
One must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie. For instance, number 1, you can never have sex. Big no-no!
No drugs.
It's a sin, it's an extension of number 1. And number 3, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say,
I'll be right back.
Because you won't be back.
And Matthew Lillard's great in that bit. I'll be right back.
I'll be right back!
Have you seen the movie?
I have.
Did it scare you?
Yeah, a little. Well, it's actually interesting because when you perform in something, obviously you know what's going to happen. But when I was watching scenes that I hadn't actually watched shot or ones that I wasn't involved in, I was freaking out.
Do you like to be scared?
No. I'm actually one of these people who, you know, sits and watch horror films, and I sit with like a pillow in front of my face and scream and cry a lot, and practically only see about 10 minutes of the film, you know. So.
And then when you get home, you hear all the noises.
Yeah,
in the house.
exactly. I have one that I saw when I think I was 9 that I still have nightmares about.
Really?
Yeah.
What was that?
The Changeling. Have you seen it? Scary movie.
What scares you?
What scares me? People who are ignorant. You know, people who are unaware or are ignorant or who are judgmental or prejudiced. I'd say that's the most scary thing in this world. But the boogeyman scares me too.
You did really good terrorizing faces.
Thanks.
Yeah, did you work on that?
You're stood in front of a mirror and just worked on them. No, I think as an actor, you just pull up whatever stuff, and I think the concept of being stalked and chased and someone wanting to murder you is scary enough. If you try and imagine that you can bring up those emotions, you know?
Yeah. And I love the scene with you and Skeet, the Romeo and Juliet type
Oh, you like that?
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about doing that.
It's just me. What are you doing here? Sorry, don't leave. Oh my God. Are you sleeping there?
Yes, I sleep in this. It was fun. I mean, I love the dynamics between Skeet and I within the characters. It was interesting because my character, although, you know, she's extremely traumatized at the beginning of the film because her mother has been raped and murdered the year before, and she's very insecure and doesn't know who to trust, and yet she wants love, you know. And Skeet's character is kind of in the same place. He's not traumatized. He desperately wants love, though. He's looking for that, like many teens, you know. So the dynamics were great.
Hey, Billy, would you settle for a PG-13 relationship?
What's that?
Then you get to knock Courtney around a little bit.
Yeah.
Give her a black eye.
Yeah. No, people keep asking me about that, and I keep having to say it's not because it's Courtney, you know.
It's Gail.
Yeah, right. It's Gail Weathers. It's just being able to punch someone in a movie, and being a young female and being allowed to do that is a great thing because I'm not necessarily a victim, you know, which was fun. It's funny, actually, that was my first scene with Courtney.
So, how's the book? Well, it'll be out later this year.
Oh, I'll look for it.
I'll send you a copy.
Nice shot. More horror movies, maybe?
I don't want to become Scream Queen. I think I have to be really careful at this point of the choices that I make, you know? So I don't think we'll see me in a horror film for a while. Not in my movie.
We haven't been properly introduced. My name's John.
How'd you like to be called Jigsaw?
No. It was the police and the press who coined the nickname Jigsaw. I never encouraged or claimed that.
It's very specific, you know. There are good sides and bad sides to all characters, but I think villains are fun because you get to play extremes, which in real life would be somewhat dangerous to do. So here it's all make-believe, and you can do whatever you want and get away with it, you know.
Tobin Bell is just so good at playing a bad guy. Still ahead, we have a film so scary, people thought it was real. The Blair Witch Project was a scream with audiences in 1999, and E.T. has the behind-the-scenes secrets.
Blair Witch, we're gonna get scared.
It was the scariest movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
It is my fault.
It was 8 days total shooting.
Actress Heather Donahue shot to fame after the movie's runaway success.
Now, how has life changed since the Blair Witch Project?
It's become extraordinarily chaotic.
The mockumentary was so convincing, a lot of people were stunned to see the stars were actually alive when they arrived at the 1999 VMA Awards.
How do you sum it all up?
Amazing.
So, how'd they pull it off? Well, to add realism, the actors truly suffered in the wilderness.
How filthy did I get? I had dirt under my fingernails, I had dirt in my hair, I had bugs in my hair.
We were the Blair Witch, so we had to go out at 4 in the morning and run around their tent and all that good stuff. So it was a lot of work for everybody involved, and you know, fortunately it seems to have paid off.
It sure did. Take this in. The filmmakers put the expense for the movie, about $60,000, on their credit cards. It was bought for $1.1 million and went on to make a staggering $250 million.
Heather, what do you mean you don't have the map?
And from SNL to the Muppets,
I think we're ready.
Maybe the biggest tribute, the hundreds of parodies Blair Witch inspired.
TV shows are, and other movies are using the Blair juice, as we call it, to promote themselves. It's cool. I mean, it's really cool. We get a kick out of it.
Oh, well, I'm Pennywise, the dancing clown. Pennywise? Yes, meet Georgie. Georgie, meet Pennywise. Now we aren't strangers, are we?
How scary was it when you saw yourself in the makeup for the first time?
I don't think I was scared. I was scared and terrified about the whole sort of embarkment on this journey and the responsibility that I felt that was upon my shoulders to make this a good performance that could live up to expectations. That was the most terrifying part of it. The makeup was an instrument that I needed to use to get the work done.
Okay, Bill Skarsgård might not have been scared by Pennywise, but I think plenty of us were. Coming up, we take a look at the film Get Out. Comedian turned director Jordan Peele has left his mark on the horror genre, and it all started in 2017 with his Oscar-winning film, Get Out.
Get out. Sorry, man.
Okay.
Get out! Yo! Yo, chill, man. Get out! Chill, man!
This whole idea came from my wanting to make my favorite movie that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
So it started with just a very personal thing, and like I've said, I legitimately thought this was unproducible movie because people are seem to be afraid to take race on in genre.
Where are those keys, Rose?
You know I can't give you the keys, right, babe?
Obviously you see there's like this satirical overtone that goes goes through it. It's very inspired by the Stepford Wives, which I think is it's a movie that does with gender what this movie does with race. And so, I knew it was possible, I just didn't think I was gonna get the shot.
By the way, I would have voted for Obama for a third term if I could.
The story came from this period we were in the Obama administration when we were in this post-racial lie, America. And there was this, it felt like there was this sentiment like, all right, it's done, race is over, we got a black president, let's not talk about it anymore. And that's kind of like what the original Obama anger translator sketch came from, was like this feeling like, well, if he ain't gonna say it, somebody needs to say it.
Congress shut me down! I'm a president, y'all! I'm a president, not a kid!
Yeah, I wanted to, first and foremost, make a movie that would entertain and just be a fun ride and not be just like an assault or like something like I'm trying to like hammer home a message. But I just wanted to deal with all these issues and hopefully give a little bit of a landmark for people to jump off and have new conversations. So it was this missing void where this film was, I think.
I mean, I told you not to go in that house.
That's it for E.T.'s Creepy Classics, but stick around, we've got more great content right here on E.T.